well-informed officers of NHAI. I know that all of you are very knowledgeable, well qualified, and well experienced. So I have structured my presentation kind of a summary kind of a thing. So if at all a particular topic needs more detail, then we'll be going into detail afterwards because this is only 1.5 hour session. Initially, I was focusing only on timely completion when the topic was notified. But later, while I was working, I thought this avoidance of claims also can be put into that. So I have added actually yesterday night. So the original presentation did not have this. So I go forward. What is the expected outcome of this presentation? After this presentation, I want everyone, rather, I expect everyone should have only one focus. What is the target date for completion of the project? And what is coming in its way? Remove the obstacle at once. And of course, again, next day, what is coming in way and how to remove the obstacle at once. And the second outcome that I am looking at is every project must have a proper construction program. It is not there today. Every consultant probably in the group and every project director can vouch for this particular thing. It is not there today. So end of this presentation, you will find the need to have a proper construction program. And then we should understand that it should be kept updated. So we keep on updating the hindrances and the progress of works on a daily basis. And then bring the slippage back to target. Because the moment we update, it gives the new completion date. And immediately it has to be brought back by increasing the resources or by increasing the productivity. So we repeat the steps. This is what I expect after this presentation. The presentation covers the following. One is focusing on time and the success stories and the failure stories also. I will take at least 10 projects and quickly go over them. Some of you might have been part of those projects and you would know them, but I would not mention the exact name of the project. Then avoidance of delays on account of non-handing over of work front. Even though we didn't hand over the work front, how to avoid the delay. And even if you have change of scope, how to avoid the delay. That is the second step. Then avoidance of claims. And if claims are unavoidable, how to handle the claims. And last but not the least, the construction program and what should be the prerequisites of this program and how to review it. And then if we are not able to manage the project within the time, how to assess the delays. Now, who doesn't want early completion? Everybody gets benefited. The public gets benefited because it gets its road and then the development accelerates. Then the vehicle operation costs, the accident costs, maintenance costs, everything reduce. That is so far as the public is concerned. NHAI gets revenue. It may be toll revenue and then it gets the name. Contractor gets better output for his men, machinery and funds. Asset gets capitalized very early and no burden of increased IBC. Debt servicing starts on time, tax burdens will reduce. I have kept the presentation kind of self-explanatory so that you can go over it even later also. So don't feel that I am actually reading it out. Then how consultants are getting benefited, will get benefited. Their staff will be able to work on more projects in a given time. There are some projects where our people, there are many people, have been working over projects for 9 years, 10 years. Imagine within 9 years, they would have completed 3 projects, but only 1 project is written in their CV. When will they get at par with all others who are shifting projects every 1 year or 2 years? So consultants also get benefited. When everyone gets benefited, why we should not focus on early completion? Now, there's a study in the Journal of Emerging Technologies and Innovative Research that has happened in 2023. If you see, the good news is that projects completed on time and within cost are 37.26%. That means projects get completed on time. Now, all that we have to focus is go to one, projects with time overrun, 35.4. If we reduce those, then we immediately scale to 72%. So it is possible. It was a study done by two gentlemen on 322 projects, and then this is the outcome of that. Don't worry about the addition of those. The addition of 114, 88, and 120 is 322, and corresponding percentages will become 100. So there is a possibility. So 37% are still on time and within cost, right? So what are the time related costs? Every day we are talking about claims. Even yesterday evening also we were talking about claims. All are time related costs. So time related claims. Cost related claims like change of scope and all, they can be handled. But the time related costs, we don't know how to handle them. The only way is probably to complete it on time so that there is no time related cost. Prolongation costs, loss of overheads, profits, loss of opportunity. Then idling of men and machinery, increased IDC. These are various things that people claim. Then of course, early completion protects the revenues and annuities of both the parties, revenues, if at all it is a toll project. So why not give a try? So what to do? The first thing that we have to do is to make timely completion our primary goal. We don't talk about anything. You see, it is not to say that only progress is important. Timely completion is possible when you follow quality. When you do a quality job, it saves the cost of repetition, cost of repeated work and all. So timely completion should be our primary goal. Then the second thing is commitment of all the parties from top to bottom to this goal. A client, authority, consultant, and also the contractor. They should only talk about timely completion. Then the most important thing is develop a sense of urgency and restlessness in dealing every issue at hand that stands in the way of reaching this goal. Sense of urgency and restlessness. So whether this kind of a focus works? Yes, it works. I'll show you what I have seen. It has happened probably 15, 20 years back. This project, that gentleman wanted to complete this project 100 days in advance on day one. He has decided and he named it Nischayam, and the date was decided. He has put the date as Nischayam in his office, in his canteen, on the road, in the workshop. Everybody, even the labor, the canteen boy knows what is the target date. So he has put that thing, and then one 10-kilometer bypass, long bypass with very high embankment, was handed over 1 year after AD, out of 2 years of construction period. Still, because he has decided that he will do it within 100 days or on that particular date, he has completed. And of course, he claimed bonus for that, but bonus is not important. I'm only trying to tell you the power of decision, the power of belief, the power of the dream. We must have this. So this is this Nischayam. He should not sue me for using this word, that contractor. I am using it for all of us. Next. So second project, this gentleman decided that I will complete early. How early, he didn't decide. It was a toll project, so whatever he does, however early he does, he gets that. So to that, he not only decided that, he has also done whatever is required for that. Almost before the appointed date, he has mobilized all the men, machinery, material, and funds. In fact, material was crushed and kept ready. He did not start the work. And then he has put consistent pressure on client for handing over of the hindered land. Or he said, if you don't want to hand over, please dispose it. Then persistent follow-up of the consultant. He used to come and sit in the consultant's office for completion of the design reviews and prompt decisions from the authority. So the focus was totally on early completion. He completed the project 8 months ahead of schedule. The third project, again, this gentleman, right away, he started right after signing the agreement. And then he started working on the investigations, designs, and everything. Almost on appointed date, he is just ready to go, run. If you see the S curve, the general way an S curve is within 33% of time, generally the progress would be around 15% or something like that. In this, because of the way he has planned, 50% work was done in 33% of time. He took care for funds. Then land, he didn't bother. Of course, ultimately some land could not be procured, but he has purchased the land and then he got reimbursement from NHAI. And he kept the quality high so that consultants are not after him. Consistent follow-up with client and IE. He would not remain in his office. And it was an SAP controlled project. SAP control has helped him in monitoring his own resources. If he doesn't, if he wants an equipment, he was seeing where it is available and then he was mobilizing it. Similarly, materials, everything. Then completed very much ahead of time and he claimed full bonus. This very much is too huge. That is why I have not put the actual number over there. So everybody wants to complete the projects early and claim bonus. But what goes wrong? Why the projects get delayed? So, see, they delayed by, not delayed, they took 10 to 12 years for completion. And if you see the common reasons, you will see in the next 6-7 slides that common reasons are same. Now, this project started in 2010 and 3 out of 4 milestones achieved on time. Now, can you put it on contractor? But the final COD was given in 2019, took 9 years for completion. It is all due to delay in processing of COS. Of course, it's an old time project and delay in interpretation of COS. Interpretation takes so much time. So that should not be the problem. Now, in fact, we have got a lot of experience in interpretation of COS, but only thing is everybody should make an effort to interpret the COS quickly. See, question was whether to pay an increase in length or width or height or span arrangement, change in type of superstructure, whether these things become change of scope or not, what should be given, what not to be given. It was a matter of interpretation and I tell you, it took more than 1 year or even more. Similarly, viaducts. So now, what exactly was contractor doing in the process was, he thought, I will not wait for any decision. I will build it first and claim later. But when he does that way, it becomes a fait accompli situation and authority may decide to pay or may not decide to pay, then he will be in problem. And he has spent so much on the COS without approval, he didn't get funds from lenders. And another thing is, as the time goes, the IDC gets accumulated and the banks deduct the IDC automatically without giving the concessionaire. Then the project got delayed. You can see it is almost 10 years. And to tell you frankly, he has put claims on the client that he has been at no fault. And he said, I have completed whatever was available to me by SPCD. I would have started tolling of the project and I was not allowed to toll the project. I was deprived of tolling the project. Then we had to calculate all the toll that he would have collected had we given the COD, and those were dealt as claims. I do not know the final outcome, but it was dealt. Then another project, again, it started in 2012 and it got completed in 2022, 10 years. And they have achieved all the 3 milestones on time. In fact, a very huge bridge, one span was 375 meters. That span also was done within 11 months. Of course, increase in toll was associated with completion of that, but he has completed, he has the capacity. And the whole problem was the hindrances and encumbrances, and they were not cleared. They could not be cleared in the last 12 years, and the work got to be bespoke. Imagine. Then another project, 2012. Of course, it was terminated by the authority. The problem was on the concessionaire side. He has diverted the mobilization advance, and he had raised claims worth 2,000 crores. We could not decide the thing appropriately. Right now, the balance works were taken up by EPC. I think they are nearing completion or just got completed. Imagine again 12 years when the project has got started in 2012. In 2024, we are completing the project. Even court was involved in this execution. Another project, again 2009, concession period, construction completed in 2021. That means construction period is equal to concession period. Of course, it was an unviable bidding as far as I understand, and revenue share was too huge. He has committed more than 50% of revenue share in the project, and there was absence of state support in collecting toll. I don't want to go into the details of that. But here, again, land was not given for structures. None of the structures, I would say, or many of the structures. The whole problem at that time was interpretation of handing over. NHAI and all of us, by statute, by gazette, we were thinking that if 3D is published, the land is in his custody, and then he can do development, maintenance. Of course, it is written in the act that way. But is it really possible to do that? It is absolutely not possible. Today we learn, and today we also have included all those things in our agreements. But why it was delayed? It is because the land was not given. And also, we assumed that it should be done by the concessionaire and not by the authority. Concessionaire is best placed to do this job. That is how it got delayed. Now, the question is, who is responsible is not the issue. All of us together, all of the intelligent lot together have ended up in delay of the project, and here construction period is equal to concession period. Other project, again 2010, and final completion was 2023. 3 milestones were on time, and the final milestone got delayed. There was an escrow default in this, and there were issues of land and structures anyway. But the whole problem was a very inefficient way of handling public representations in this. In the sense, whoever comes, then we will entertain them, and we won't be able to decide it either, because we have got so many levels of approval, so many levels of scrutiny, and at the end, finally, people would say this is not correct, and we will not be able to handle the public. They will again stop. So that way, see, the simple thing of this handling public representations has delayed the project almost has taken almost 10 to 12 years for completion, though he has completed 3 milestones on time. Another project, it started in 2012. Of course, both parties have terminated each other, and it is under rebidding, might have got rebid. So there the main problem was absence of state support agreement. State didn't want the project. Authority was unable to maneuver. We were not given even appointment to meet the state. Then there was a court's intervention. It got delayed. But the whole problem in this, I would say, was delay in deciding the exit, and there were claims of 2,200 crores. No specific mention of this, but see how project now it will take another 5 years to complete. So one project which was conceived in 2010 or something will be completed in 2030 or 2028, something like that. Another project, it was terminated by the concessionaire, a good concessionaire, all due to land and structures and difference in perception of handing over. He took a very quick decision to terminate the contract. And of course, balance works were taken up by EPC. And then I think they might have just completed or they're under completion. Imagine it is almost 14, 15 years. Now, if we summarize the reasons for the delays or successes, for delay in providing ROW and vacant taxes, top the list. And change of scope, public representation, state support agreement, and diversion of funds. So the top three, change of scope and public representations, in fact, both of them go together, because change of scope generally comes because of public representations, which we overlook during preparation of DPR. And for success, there is only one reason, one way: just focus on timely completion and it will happen. No excuses, nothing, because everybody will fall behind it and we will start behaving like different entities. And yes, we are different entities, but we start working for one common goal. Now, how to avoid delay due to issues related to non-handing over? All of you understand that we have a provision for descoping, provision for delinking. This has to be used properly. Now, even yesterday I was discussing with someone, they were not clear about these things. One is, what is the meaning of handing over? So hindrance is a physical abstraction. A structure, utility, tree, even public resistance is also a physical abstraction. That is called hindrance. Encumbrance is a legal abstraction. The land is not in our possession, or there is a stay on a particular piece of land in court. So there is a legal abstraction that is called encumbrance. So when the agreement stated earlier that we will hand over encumbrance-free land, it only meant that it doesn't have any legal abstraction, but it is still not in possession. Today we have incorporated this position in our agreements. Actually, we are supposed to give vacant access and right of way. If vacant access is available, it doesn't, it is not adequate. There should be right of way also. Similarly, if right of way is there, it is not adequate. There should be vacant access also. That means permission, free permission for the concessionaires, equipment, men to enter the piece of land. So no hindrance and no encumbrance and free to start the work is what is the meaning of handing over. And this is what, as authority, we are supposed to give. Now, how to go about this giving clear work front? Don't award without the requisite linear front. I think we are not doing it, but still, there are issues in the projects that we are doing also. The memorandum or the inventory says something that we have already handed over 90%, but when we go to site, we clearly see that the compensation has not been paid in full. No, there are issues. The compensation is given to Kala, it is deposited there, so my job is over. But the problem is people are not allowing the person to work. So we have to get into details and see that the whole thing is given. Then there are some clauses which I was looking at, that the space required only for the tow or roadway, that will be given. But when you go to green fields, when you go and travel on green fields, you see that there is an additional requirement of strip on both the sides for a truck. In fact, the truck and the equipment have to pass two-way. So it is a very difficult thing. The embankment is also high due to underpasses, culverts in greenfield. So the entire 60 meters should be given. We should not say that I have given toe to toe and go ahead. Then use DPR consultant to the fullest extent. There are some recent projects in Bharatmala who have demonstrated extreme control over DPR consultants. And it's not the question of control, it is also guidance. There were pressures from top that this must be launched, awarded on this particular date. So everybody have fallen in. Again, there also, you see, the target and the control. So those practices, whatever they have followed, those PAUs have followed, those ROs have followed, those should be communicated to others so that DPR consultant gets all the clearances before award. Contractor to have an exclusive task force, not that the project manager will be working, whether he works or not, it's a different thing. Those people should have exclusive task force for clearances, and they should use only development period. After development period, once the appointed date starts, there should not be any clearance left. And authority and contractor to work together. I fully understand, we fully understand that the contractor or the concessionaire is better placed due to various things that are involved in the process. But authority also should be involved in this so that these things can be done within time. Whatever it is, at the end of the day, end of all these things, freeze the scope, what is supposed to be done, and freeze the time when it is supposed to be done after freezing the scope, and put a program in place how it will be done on time. Now, let us see, everybody says, what is the extension in HAM project? Well, there is no EOT in HAM project. See the conditions that we have. Authority has to give linear work front. It is not a percentage area today. I think all of us understand that part. Linear work front, and 80% should be unappointed date. Balance should be given within AD plus 90. No damages will be there. But remaining front should be given within 180 days after AD, but will be charged damages. Now, you delete the works wherever front is not available after 180 days. Of course, that should not include non-critical works, means that should not include critical works which are safety oriented. But this deletion should be done before the expiry of 180 days. But if you see nowadays, or on many projects, these are actually deleted after SPCD or much after AD. So they really don't know whether they will be deleted or not. Now complete the works in the front handed over within AD plus 146 days by SPCD. Whatever is handed over within 146 days has to be SPCD, has to be completed by SPCD. So these are the conditions. Now, it is where it lays framework for completing all the works by SPCD. And what is not supposed to be completed, they have deleted or deleted. Now imagine, where do we get this time, extension of time from? Nowhere. They have to complete the HAM projects within scheduled project completion date. This is how we understand. But the thing is, we have to delete the works, whatever get qualified for deletion before expiry of 180 days. Now what requires is, again, you see the last line, assess time for the works handed over between 146 days and 180 days, because whatever is given within 146 should be completed by SPCD, and whatever is not given by 180 days shall have to be deleted. Now whatever is in between, you have to assess time. Whatever kind of work it would be, it will be completed within SPCD. So in HAM, if we properly look at it, there is no extension of time, need for extension of time. But the problem is, if at all any hindrance is coming during the construction period by way of public representations or unrest or anything, those things have to be removed quickly. And contractor should not create any hindrance, because many times we put it on contractors stating that this gentleman only is creating trouble. He is actually instigating the people to create this hindrance and all. I won't believe it, but there are instances. So the contractors and concessionaires should not resort to such practices. Now, in case of EPC project also, it is similar. I want to say that extension of time is really not required. 90% linear front has to be given on AD, and remaining within 150 days after AD. And whatever is given within 150 days after AD, all those things have to be completed by SPCD. And there is a deemed deletion clause also in built-up areas and wildlife and forests and all, some specific clauses there. So those are deemed deleted. So very little work will be left for us to give extension. And those can be deleted or delinked depending upon the time when we are giving the front then, and whether it is required for safety purposes. So again, we have to promptly handle the hindrances arising in the construction period. This is very important. Now, hindrance register is very important. The other day when we were seeing the claims, they were telling that damages for non-handing over of land and all, but they could not give us any details. The hindrance register should be maintained from day one, and the format can be similar to the delay analysis, what we are giving today. The date of removal of each hindrance, may it be ROW, structure, utility, forest, unrest, COS, whatever, the date, and also the area affected, because the damages are not linear, means based on linear work front unit. It is based on area. So we have to put that area, and these things should be submitted or updated monthly. And now, authority should not say that concessionaire is submitting something and Mr. IE, you look into it. All the parties should agree on this. There is no harm in agreeing. All of us should work together to remove this. There is, people are afraid to certify the status of hindrances or removal of hindrances. So I would tell you, status of hindrances, see the last line, and status of progress of each activity are the most important documents in any project, because these are the ones who will justify the delay or who will counter the claims, and these have to be maintained in place. Back, yeah. So the register should include the sections which are even clear. That is very important. Not that we will only maintain where it is not clear. So it should also, it should be in continuous stretches. This particular stretch, it is free. So there is zero claim on damages or anything, right? Contractor to submit this is one thing that is very important. There is a damages clause. If we go through it, it says that unless authority pays the damages, the concessionaire or the contractor does not have any obligation to complete the works which are hindered at a later date. Now the contractor does not submit a claim on the damages, it doesn't have details or anything, something like that, proper details, and authority also doesn't entertain it. Probably we keep them on one side to negotiate afterwards. But if we don't pay them on time, so what I request or what I suggest here is that authority should consider evaluating and accepting the claim and even paying the damages, without which the contractors have no obligation to complete the project or complete those works within SPC. Now, how to avoid change of scope? See, these are certain things which I have in mind. So kindly see whether these are possible or not. I hope these are very much possible. We can avoid change of scope, but we have to start from preparation of DPR. Then how to avoid it at the time of preparing DPR, during bidding, at the time of signing the agreement, and during the construction. I have divided the aspect into these 4 stages. I would like to say that consultant should prepare a complete proposal. They should not think that the cost will be more, so let me not provide here, let me not provide here, and remove the facilities or avoid the facilities. It should be as per manual, strictly. If it says that one LVUP or whatever has to be proposed 200 meters nearer to a school or a hospital, it must be proposed. And of course, today I see that we have to do it in nearer to a burial ground also, where people, one side is a burial ground, the other side is a village. Then there also one underpass has to be provided that way. There are many such circumstances, many such cases where we had to deal. So we have to provide a complete proposal, prepare a complete proposal as per manual, circulars, guidelines, safety requirements. Safety circulars are also there. We have to provide. Now, of course, we have to do all the reviews and all that goes without saying. Now, if at all we are not providing something as per circular or stipulations, then we have to list the deviations and sign them. These deviations are not what we provide as annexure to Schedule D and all. This is different. We say that this circular says so, but I have not provided for this reason. Then afterwards, what happens is PD curtails, RO curtails, and various committees above, they curtail for some reason. So we should keep a record of what has been curtailed and why. who made it, when, and why. Then the most important thing is DPR has to be finished early. The review has to be finished early. Approval has to be finished early. Client should not hurry at the end. I am telling you, hurried revisions are responsible for most of the errors in DPR. Then during the preparation of DPR, see, the whole thing is check, recheck, and double check. Because to err is human. I won't support anybody. I won't justify any action on this. But everybody has to do this. So consultants to deploy right people, but then check, recheck, and double check, particularly the provisions with site requirements. And owner has to be a part of DPR. I see that the PIUs have only one project director and one or two people, and with so many projects under implementation, including DPRs, O&M, and also the construction projects, it is extremely difficult for them to focus on this. So we have to devise something to support them with adequate trained staff, particularly for the DPR. Now, during preparation of the DPR, the most important thing is we have to involve everybody, particularly for the public consultation. Public consultation has to be done with public representatives, local representatives, in the presence of district administration. After finalizing everything, we have to give a presentation to all these people stating that we have provided this, we have not provided this, this is the reason why we have not provided and all. And an MOM has to be drawn, and a video record of such consultation can be kept. All that is required is we should start the practice. Then everybody will fall in line. Then MOM should state that they understood the provisions and the reasons for not providing such facilities they have understood. And they will not raise anything during the construction period. And they will not stop the works. This is the kind of understanding that we would have with the public representatives. And if at all, for any reason, if anything is raised, agree to take it up after completion of the main works. But if we decide to do it, then we de-link it for completion. That is during the construction. Then keep a drone video of the site at the time of DPR with commentary on the provisions. This is very much important. Even for the bidders also, they will just go over the drone video and see that there is something required here and why it is not provided or why it is provided. All that can be understood. Now, during the bidding, everybody has to understand the scope, but most importantly, the bidder. The owner to organize the tour, but make it compulsory for the bidders to see the site before bidding. Today, they are undertaking, they are actually signing in the main part of the agreement that they have seen the site, they have understood all the ground conditions, they will not have any claim on the ground conditions and all, but they're all hidden. There is a disclaimer. But those disclaimers are also contestable today. So it should be a separate thing. And conduct a detailed review of schedules. These bidders who are very much interested in the project should be able to review the schedules by seeing the video. Let us provide a link to the video, maybe view only, not that it can be taken from the site, for a fee. Then owner to respect the pre-bid meetings. Of course, say no to as per RFP and give clarifications as necessary. Let us not be silent on the queries. Of course, issue addendum wherever scope is affected. A clarification cannot change the scope. Only addendum can change the scope. And the most important thing where claims are coming is on the priority of documents for scope. Schedule B, C versus D. What is scope is always a problem. It is very clear that Schedule B and C are the scope, and to the extent there is a reference from B to C to D becomes a scope. If there is no reference to D from B to C, though it is obvious, it will create conflict and the priority will shift to B and C. Now, the most important thing what we have seen is bidders are silent when they see the documents. They would say that these have been done by NHAI and a very reputed consultant. So I don't expect any gap. I don't expect any omission, something like that. And they don't bring out. That's the way they say. But it is, some things are very evident. When you see the documents, some things are very evident. So they should bring out the gaps or omissions to the notice of the client at the time of pre-bid meeting so that the client can ask the DPR consultant, this drawing is missing, provide it. This scope is missing. What did you think? This cost, whether you have included it in the DPR or not. You could have told simply that these shall be finalized by X, Y, Z. But then, did you include those costs? You say that these structures will be a part of the project, but did you include those costs? Anyway, when the bidders ask for the missing details and drawings, then the DPR consultants can provide them. They may take 15-20 days, but they will provide them. And bidders not to think of exploiting the errors. My friends who are there in this, they must understand this. We should not think of exploiting the errors and the gaps, not to have a claim orientation. This is not the way. And owner and DPR consultants to have a final review of the documents for their adequacy, consistency, and correctness before pre-bid itself. It should not be just an automatic and a simple way. You sit and see. I'm not putting it on the owner, but certainly certain things can always be done. Before the signing of the agreement, they have to sign the scope. You see what I am proposing here. He has to sign an undertaking that he has seen the site, he has reviewed the documents and satisfied himself on the adequacy and consistency of the documents, and that he has understood and agrees to the scope, and that he shall not raise any claims. Some things are missing in the agreement. If you can actually put them in these places wherever disclaimers are there, then things can be better, or a separate thing also can be added. Parties to agree on the availability of actual front. This is important. I have already mentioned to you about depositing money with Kala and all. So let's see that. Now, during constructions, there are only two keywords: delete the scope if we are not sure of getting that work in the tenure of the contract, delink them from completion if these are essential for safety, and by doing this, we freeze the scope. And the most important thing that we should ensure or decide is no public representations will be entertained during construction period. If at all it is entertained, no problem, but we're dealing from completion. Still, when we're dealing for completion, what will happen is that will affect the length for tolling, for annuity calculations and all those. So to avoid that, we say we complete the project and we will see it during the O&M period. And naturally, all the works in the front made available within the specified period shall be completed by the scheduled date, so there is no delay. Because of our problems, we could not give land for a particular piece. We either delinked it or delete it. Now, generally, how are we supposed to? I was talking about sense of urgency and sense of and restlessness. But leaving that, we go to specifics of handling certain issues. See, time is money. That everybody has to understand. You know what kind of value is attached to money? I have not listed it here. For HAM projects, if there is a default in O&M, 2% of performance security is the damage. And performance securities are anywhere up to 50 crores. And you can imagine what kind of damages are there per day. Similarly, you have got delay in completion. If it is delayed by 1 day, it will be 0.1% of performance security. Loss of toll. Some projects actually collect 1 to 1.5 crores per day. If a day is delayed, then so much of toll is lost for the authority if it is an annuity project. And similarly, we have problems for the annuity also. And claims, you see, prolongation costs and all per day, how much it actually costs. That is also of a similar magnitude. I have seen almost 300 account of some 300 odd claims, and it's almost 250 crores per project. Of course, we have awarded up to 30%. In some cases, it is up to 27, and some cases up to 33%. But claims are also to that magnitude. And of course, loss of time and reputation has its own value. The public representatives, when they organize meetings in public and they start questioning the representatives of the authority and the contractors and the consultants, it is really very hard to face them. So no party should sleep on issues requiring decisions. Every day matters. Now, I'm just telling you something that now how we are dealing the most important issues like change in law or change of scope or anything that requires the decision of the authority. Actually, no decision is given at the lowest point. Now, a submission is made by the contractor to the IE, and then IE recommends, and then before recommendation, he may go back and forth with them. Then the recommendation goes to PD, then there is a back and forth communication between PD, and so on and so forth. There are queries, there are clarifications, sometimes it goes to the top, and then a query is raised, and the query follows the same process and comes to sometimes up to the up to the consultant, and sometimes even to the concessionaire. It's a very long route when you start this. But if there is an issue, very critical issue that is identified by everybody, instead of asking for a formal submission, we can start with a presentation where all the key persons from top to bottom are involved, say starting from a GM level to bottom, all involved, and there will be discussions and there can be some decisions, and only after that a submission can be made. So that I think top down, I'm not exactly telling that something has to start from top, but it's a shorter route. And now a change of scope, it will have 400 pages, 300 pages, even the submission itself is into multiple pages. We can actually reduce the length of submissions and avoid repetition of content at each level. When IE gives something, the same thing is repeated first by the project director, then he gives same opinion in a different manner probably, and then it goes on and it becomes bulky. So instead of that, if we are agreeing with the IE, then it should simply go without any additional matter. Sometimes the independent engineers or authority engineers letter itself is not enclosed in the final level. So the top people ask us, what did you do here? Then they say, sir, it was there in our submission. So we should avoid repetition of content at each level. It becomes bulky. See, another thing is, the other day I was handling some claims. Long after issuance of PCC and even CC, I would say that the claim has to be raised no later than 28 days of becoming aware of the event. It should be a condition precedent for submission of a claim. They do it for COVID, they do it for, in fact, we insist that for other things, other force majeure events that is there, but claims also should have a similar thing. Within 28 days of becoming aware of the event, it's a condition precedent. And the moment they submit, engineer to respond if the claim has been submitted, if the notice has been submitted in time. If not, he simply tells it that no, you have not submitted on time. That is why it is not admissible. It is not admitted. So that's over. But if we don't reply, if the engineer doesn't reply, then the notice is deemed to have been admitted. Then another important thing is a full detailed claim must be submitted within 84 days of becoming aware of the event. It is just 3 months. Maybe it is 12 weeks probably. That is why it is 84 days. So within 3 months, they have to give complete detail. Else, the notice which they have given within 28 days also will get lapsed. And if he gives another notice, then it loses, it has no relevance. So the total claim is gone. So this entitlement cannot continue for long. And agreement of the claim and determination of the claim plays a pivotal role in resolving disputes. That is very, very important. So we have to either agree or disagree, and we have to determine it also. So this is a FIDIC approach, and if it is not there in our agreement, well, it is not there. We have to include it. That is my view. Next. This is what is the concept of claims in FIDIC. Engineer assumes a role of a facilitator. Today we are talking about a mediator, fostering discussions between the involved parties. So here suddenly the engineer changes its role. Till now the parties are like authority and independent engineer or authority engineer. But suddenly at this time, the role changes. He becomes a mediator or a facilitator, with the overarching goal of reaching a mutually agreeable resolution within a stipulated 42-day time frame. Now, if we go back to the time, within 84 days, the contractor is supposed to submit his claim. Within next 42 days, the engineer will make efforts to reach by consultation. We can have number of meetings, informal, formal, and see that we resolve it within 42 days time. Should the parties fail to achieve this consensus within this period, engineer is duty bound to step in decisively, and within further 42 days following the expiration of the above agreement period, the engineer is mandated to issue a fair determination. Now, if you see the timelines, he submits the notice within 28 days, and engineer says whether it is valid or not within 14 days. So again, 28 plus 14, 42 days is over. Within another 42 days, so within 84 days, the concessionaire or contractor submits a full claim, detailed claim. After that, another 42 days is given to resolve the issue. And if it is not resolved within those 42, a final determination will be given by the engineer, fair determination within next 42. That means any claim ultimately is being resolved within 84 plus 84, 168 days, which is almost less than 6 months. Any difficult claim should be resolved in this manner. So this is the concept of FIDIC, and we should try to bring it up appropriately in the agreement or by way of a circular. So if it is an interim claim that the cause of it continues for a long time, interim claims must be submitted monthly. The first one, again, it will be that 24 days, 28 days and 14 days, that notice has the same timeline. But if it is an interim claim, then it should be submitted, it should be updated monthly. And engineer to respond to interim claims within 42 days of receiving the claim. Now, the contractor, he doesn't give a claim during the tenure of the contract, and he gives after PCC or after CC. He deprives the authority of mitigating the effect of the event. So he should give the moment he is aware of occurrence of the event. And how long the authority is liable to entertain the disputes or claims? This is still a question to me. Now the construction program. Now, as I told you in the beginning itself, there are very less sites where construction program is prepared methodically to the requirement, which can be utilized for assessing delays or which can be utilized for assessing claims. Now, what should it be like? Qualities of a good construction program. It should be realistic. It should not be accelerated. It should neither be accelerated nor underestimated. Suppose an ROB is there. Somebody puts a time of 3 years to the ROB or 2.5 years to the ROB, total duration. It is slightly underestimated. The problem with such estimation is when it gets delayed for some reason, due to his fault or somebody else's fault, we have to push that activity by so much time. Whereas for entitlement, whereas he actually takes some 18 months or so, or 12 months. In fact, by our guidelines, internal policies and all, it should not take more than 12 months. So it should neither be accelerated nor underestimated. Some people come and tell us that, sir, it is 30 months, but we have prepared a program for 24 months, and this is for your approval. We should not approve such programs. Please prepare a program. We will tell him, please prepare a program for the contract duration so that the activities are properly assessed And wherever a specific activity is disturbed or affected, only that activity can be pushed by a reasonable duration. Right? Now, it should be micro level. Some people give the entire program for entire embankment will be from here to here, entire subgrade will be from here to here. That doesn't help us in assessing the time. So we have to have a separate program for road portion, 1 to 2 kilometers, depending upon how it is, how big it is. For a 200-kilometer project, we can't give probably 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer. We can give a 5-kilometer program and separate for culverts in that zone. Separate for each structure, because at times a VUP can be affected. So if when there is a program for a VUP for a structure separately, that particular activity can be pushed in evaluating or updating a program. So a bridge has to have a different program, underpass, toll plaza, facilities, specific facilities, and most importantly, the hindered works should be placed at a different place. All the hindered works. Suppose 5 kilometers is that is hindered, then that 5 kilometers will have a different program. We put it under a different head in the same program. So when it is given, only that much will be pushed or not pushed. And in case of ROBs, we should consider the time required for approvals of GADs. Of course, GAD is given before the award of the contract, but then detailed designs. Then after that, blocks, everything should be considered properly so that a proper assessment is made. And if it is delayed, then only to that extent we will delay. Suppose he takes 3 months for approvals, only it will be pushed by only 3 months. But all these things have to be checked at the time of approval itself. We approve it as it is submitted, and afterwards we start discussing about the validity of this program. It doesn't work. The most important quality of a program is it should be responsive. Now, what is meant by responsive? When you open the program in the software, we try to move a particular activity or we change the start date of that activity. When you change the start date of activity, the completion date should move. Then it is responsive to that activity. You check such things for some sample activities and see whether it is responsive. And if it is not changing the completion date, it means that that is on the critical, that is not on the critical path and it has flowed. So we keep on checking to understand that it is responsive. When it is responsive as a whole, then you can use it for determination of extension of time and also determination or assessment of claims. And it should be absolutely resource based. We know this word per se. If the whole project is divided into various contracts, various units, some structures units and some road units and all, and they have certain plants and equipment, all those things have to be considered. Whatever is assumed in the program, then we have to see that those plant and equipment have been mobilized inside. Otherwise, we have to update the program with the actual number of plant and equipment. Then the program should be trackable and kept live. That's what I said regarding responsive. We should be able to update the percentage progress also. There are two things which I will tell you in the next slide as to what exactly happens. Now, this also should be linked to BOQs, raw materials, plant and equipment, and most importantly, cash flow. Percentage progress, I would say. When you update a program, how exactly it changes the milestones is important. Whether by this, the new milestone can be completed as per the CA requirement. Suppose from milestone 1 to 2, there is a 6-month gap. When you push this program, whether the same 6 months is possible or whether by virtue of the activities those were affected, whether it is going to 8 months or 10 months, something like that. So to understand this, we have to also assess the percentage progress on account of this updation. Of course, it's a simple statement of bill of quantities, raw materials, plant and equipment, financial. So the progress is very important. Then accordingly, when you update the progress, time extension for that particular milestone can be given based on the updation of this program. This is the most important slide that all of us should understand. And there is nothing more than this slide to understand the absolute delay attributable to each party. First, we should have a realistic baseline program, approved baseline program. Whether it is approved or not, it should be realistic and correct. On that baseline program, we update the hindrances. There are various hindrances. This particular land has not been given. Here, addition has not been given. Here, forest clearance is not there. Whatever hindrance is there, we just update those hindrances, and accordingly, the individual activities get shifted. When they get shifted, that gives us an impacted program. So now there is a completion date. There was a original completion date as per the baseline program, and a new date is given by the impacted program when we update the hindrances. Whatever is the change in the completion date, that is absolutely attributable to authority. It is absolute delay attributable to authority. Right? Now we take the impacted program, which was updated by hindrances. There we update the progress. What does it mean? A particular activity is there, and by this day, how much percentage of that activity is completed? So we update it as 30%. But whereas it was supposed to have been 60% as per the original program. So it is lagging. Like that, each activity, a structure, a road or anything, a facility, road portion, facility, they get updated. Then the revised program comes out. That revised program will also give a new date. That new date also consists of the authority's delay and also the concessionaires or contractors delay, that total delay. So when you deduct this authority's delay from total delay, you get contractors delay. So this is how we work out the absolute delays attributable to each party. There are problems in this also, but this is the most logical way of arriving at these delays. There are other means of arriving at the delays and assessing who is responsible, how much they are responsible. We must have a session on concurrent delays also as to how they have to be handled. We will see that later. Now, avoidance of claims. See, there are three types of claims. One is time-related claim. Second is cost-related claim. And third is document-related claim. Document-related claim in the sense, there is a gap in the document and somebody wants to use it, exploit it. So that is a document-related claim. For all the time-related claims, all the parties have to work on freezing the scope of work at the time of commencement, not afterwards. And then completing those works which are available on time. And then go to the first one. Descope the works where front is not made available within 180 days and freeze the scope for completion of the project and issue the provisional certificate upon completion whether the work is usable or not, whether the project highway is usable or not, tollable or not. He has done his part. So when we issue the provisional completion certificate, what happens is that part of the asset gets capitalized. And then his debt servicing starts because they might have taken certain things and then it goes on. So we have to descope the works and then we have to issue the provisional certificate upon completion. Then we will never be at fault. We as authority, I'm talking about authority. Then of course, dealing with the works where front is not available within 180 days, but which are required for legal and safe operation of the highway and agree a separate time. So we agree a separate time for that. Now, when you agree a separate time, here I want to make a point, which is not written over here, is certain works have been separated, dealing, and they will be done only after releasing the front attached to it. That can be given after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Now we have to allow escalation on that. If it is a HAM project, we can always utilize PAM, the price index multiple, to assess what it is. And if it is an EPC project, we can use escalation formula to assess what is the change in the original listing. We should not limit ourselves to the COS rates or at the time of bid rates and all. We should allow them that escalation. Then cost-related claims. This we have already discussed. I am only summarizing. If the employer, DPR consultants, bidders, and finally successful bidder in that order focus on achieving absolute clarity in the scope of work, bereft of ambiguities and omissions in the contract documents before signing the contract, then cost-related claims also would be avoided. We must do this. We should not say that this is not a practice, we have never done this before, not like that. And a contractor must give an undertaking that he accepts the scope in toto and that he will not raise any claims in executing the work specified in the contract. Third is, of course, document-related claims. And how do we avoid? It is simply a mindset and it is only a commitment. If the parties decide not to exploit the gaps in the documents, more so when they do not suffer any loss. This is very important. The first thing I always say is when a claim is submitted, did he suffer any loss on that account or he is just claiming? Yesterday we were discussing. He was talking about an entitlement for extension of time of 12 months, whereas he has completed the work within 3 months after that date. He says, my entitlement that you have assessed is 12 months. He also says, you have not approved that. So my entitlement was not agreed to, I go for a dispute for approving that entitlement. Entitlement and actual requirement is entirely different, and claim and actually what he suffered is entirely different. So when parties decide that we will not exploit the gaps, then only interpretation claims would also be minimized. See, the aim of stakeholders should be to work as a team and put the national interest ahead of personal priorities. That can limit the claims to actual, and also, of course, limit the claims to actual loss, not what you claim by way of your great interpretations. These claim experts should be brought at the time of signing the agreement to review the documents for its adequacy and consistency. If our concessionaires or contractors put those claim experts at that time, then things will be much better. We should not bring them at the time of after completion of the project, and gaps should be identified and ironed out before signing the agreement. That's all, sirs.